Hey, Chad.
Yeah?
You're reading that comic book backwards.
No, I'm reading it the right way.
No, left to right, Chad. We talked about this.
No, Dan, it's
top to bottom, left to right.
It's a manga, okay? You read it
Excuse me?
from the opposite direction, a manga. You know, manga comics.
And what's that?
It's like a Japanese comic book.
And you read it backwards.
Yes.
You're not just making this shit up.
No, it's like the Torah. Because you read the Torah backwards, right?
Well, you're in luck that we happen to have our cartoon correspondent, Rachel Amanda Bryant, with us today.
Hey, guys.
Welcome to Raised by Toons. Wait, we didn't even do the Hey, Toonsters. Welcome to another episode of Raised by Toons. I'm Dan Tuxedo Mask Mason.
And I'm Chad Negaverse Cook.
And we are with our cartoon correspondent, Rachel Amanda Bryant. I love that we backtracked to get you the appropriate...
It was like a Tarantino opening. We
started with the soft opening.
Her introduction, and then we, you know...
So what we have Rachel here for is she is a specialist on our first anime episode of Raised by Toons. We are doing Sailor Moon.
This is your first anime one?
Yeah.
Really? I didn't know that.
We haven't done an anime yet.
Now, to start us off, Chad's reading this book backwards called a manga. And is he an idiot or am I misinterpreting what this is?
Sometimes Chad can be an idiot.
Okay. Okay, let's stop there. End of episode. That's good. That's good.
Damn it.
But this is not one of those times.
Oh.
He is reading this book correctly. These mangas are read right to left. And even on the page, right to left. So it's not just you flip a page. The cells, just like a comic book or graphic novel, the cells are right to left as well.
Now,
looks like it's Chad 5, Dan 0.
All right. Well, now, I guess, did Sailor Moon start off as a manga before it was an anime? Or...
Well, yes, it did.
Okay, so it wasn't vice versa. They didn't create the show first.
Oh, no, they didn't.
It wasn't like our other episodes where the toy or the comic was made and they're trying to, let's throw it into a cartoon.
Right.
So,
as our cartoon correspondent and specialist for Sailor Moon, what sort of brought you in? What attracted you the most to Sailor Moon growing up?
Well, if anyone was a fan, they would know that it was a cartoon in the early 90s here in the States, and the art is what really first drew me in. It's vibrant, it's beautiful, these girls have these huge eyes, it's just so different than any other cartoon that was airing at the time.
Now, can you tell us why a lot of animes have such large eyes? Like, the characters have very expressive eyes. Is there a reason for that? I
mean, you kind of mentioned it, the idea of the expression. You can really see what characters are thinking through their eyes, and I think that's why it's such a huge part of the animation.
Yeah, you'll see that in a lot of anime. Different, they use the same emotional looks, like with sweat.
They're cues, there are certain things that are on all forms of anime, not just Sailor Moon or Dragon Ball Z. And I know that you had told me that the new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles even utilizes some of this.
Yep, they use some of those, like the deadpan eyes, the just the bead eyes that come through, the giant sweat drop that shows up. Now, for the Toonsters at home that are tuning in, that have never seen Sailor Moon before, which, Toonsters, I was one of you.
I still don't believe that. It was so prolific.
I am ashamed to say it, but that is one show I've never seen was Sailor Moon, and that's why we have a specialist on today, because she's going to help me understand. I have just a library of questions I'm ready to ask her. One of them...
I am a librarian. So that's appropriate.
This works on every angle, Chad. Actually, before we get started, Toonsters, here's
the main theme song from
Sailor Moon. Okay, so Rachel, since we have you here, can you give the Toonsters at home a synopsis of what Sailor Moon is if they've never seen it?
Sure. So Sailor Moon is about this middle school aged girl who befriends this cat who talks to her, which, by the way, I love cats. Okay. So that could also be why I love this show.
Okay.
Okay, focusing. Anyway. And she finds out that she's this, like, guardian of the universe, trying to help people, save people from this really negative, diabolical, evil presence called Queen Beryl in the Negaverse. And so she gets some other Sailor Scouts with her, and they go and they fight together.
Okay. One, I have questions from what you just told me. Now, I did just recently watch a handful of episodes to get the gist of it. But if I have never seen this show before, and you just said that, I got questions. This talking cat. Luna, I believe.
Luna is the cat. What's odd about a talking cat?
In Japan, maybe nothing.
Well, Dan, you got it. I mean, there was Sabrina the Teenage Witch. They had a talking cat.
Yeah, but that makes sense. She's a witch.
Okay.
So what is a Sailor Scout you were talking about?
It's like a Sailor Soldier. So Sailor Scout is the English translation. Mm-hmm. The Japanese, like, actual word, if we, like, literally translated it, is Pretty Guardian Sailor Soldier.
Oh.
So just the idea that they are soldiers for good, for love and justice. That's like her mantra that she says while she's fighting. And they originally came from the moon but were sent away? Sailor Moon came from the moon. Okay. But all the other scouts are from their respective planets. Like Sailor Mercury is from Mercury. Oh, okay. Sailor Mars is from Mars. Sailor Pluto's from Pluto. Pluto's still a planet. Okay. In this so they didn't revoke Sailor Pluto's powers.
Well, I don't think Japan goes by our solar system.
No.
Maybe.
I think they might, Chad.
That's probably an outlandish statement I just made. But let me just clarify.
I don't think America just has their own set of solar system rules.
I talked to Neil Tyson. Yeah, Neil Tyson, that guy. And he's mentioned it.
How often do you talk to Neil? Good old Neil.
On Twitter.
I told you that guy you're meeting with at the mall is not Neil Tyson deGrasse.
Reverse that.
Neil deGrasse. Okay, so astronomy's not our forte, but you know what is? Cartoons. I was going to see what you were going to say there.
I was going to say anime, but since we were doing anime this time. But they're still animated.
So Sailor Moon is up against Beryl.
Queen Beryl.
Queen Beryl against the Negazone.
Queen Beryl's from the Negaverse, like a universe, the negative universe.
So what's her overall goal to achieve here?
Queen Beryl specifically?
Yeah.
Well, if they can suck all the energy out of Earth and Earth's beings, and they can take it into their negative selves, then they can essentially rule the world. And they have to kill all the Sailor Scouts in order to do that, because these Sailor Scouts keep getting in their way.
God, doesn't that just sound like everything?
Yeah.
Just people trying to suck your happiness out?
That's a lot of what this show was. It was kind of funny to see. Like, the first episode that you guys watched with me the other night was women trying on jewelry and having that jewelry suck their essence out of them, essentially. And they turn into zombies and to fight for the Negaverse. Like, that's such a odd, silly thing, but that's how these negative, terrible villains got their power to do what they wanted to do next.
Well, aren't a lot of the villains named after minerals or stones? Or?
I mean, there's a lot of names that you'll see just referencing a lot of other aspects of science throughout the whole anime and manga. But yeah, like zoisite, malachite, jadeite.
Can we talk about a dreamboat for a second?
Are you talking about Tuxedo Mask?
I am talking about Tuxedo Mask.
I think he was trying to bring himself up, but I was just good. I'm glad you mentioned Tuxedo Mask.
So, watching this, there is this mysterious caped crusader that sort of comes into play, and he is donning a top hat mask and a big magician cape.
Yes.
Which you would never notice him if he was walking down the street. That's normal, right?
In Japan, once again, maybe. Like, a lot of these things are probably just common.
Well, I mean, if the person's throwing roses around, I think you'd take notice.
By the way, when he throws roses, they I don't know what magical.
They're piercing, Dan.
Yeah, they.
But they like break through stone.
Yeah.
But he's just a dude. Like
no, he's
He's not a dude.
It's not like he plucked a rose out of some rose garden and threw it.
Oh, then I was misled.
These are roses that have this like extra special power of his power. You know, he's the prince from Earth, just so you guys know. So he doesn't have a planet. He's the Earth. I mean, Earth's a planet, but I should say he's not a planet outside of Earth, like all the other Sailor Scouts. What?
No.
Does Earth have a prince?
Yes, that's what I just said.
I mean, in real like.
Oh.
Do we have a prince I don't know about?
Well, we don't know about extraterrestrial life, so we don't have a designated prince of Earth to represent us in those delegations.
Well, I guess I would vote for the mask guy. He's
handsome.
Right.
He's swarthy.
And his
He's
real
a
name's
dreamboat.
Darian. That's a
His
cool
name's
name.
Darian.
Darian.
When he's
Shields.
not tuxedo mask, during the day, he's Darian.
So did they pull like the Clark Kent?
It's essentially the Clark Kent thing. During the day, he's in this green blazer, black t-shirt, just slacks. Then he puts on these glasses. Like, it's like a mask, I guess, but it's not much bigger than a pair of glasses. And all of a sudden,
Where'd he go?
Who's that man?
The best part is when he doesn't recognize Sailor Moon.
Yeah.
And she is when her outfit changes from her regular to her Sailor Scout outfit, it is almost identical, but with a shorter skirt.
Okay, first of all, in Japanese culture, the Sailor Scout outfits are referencing the uniforms that children wear to school. Okay, So that's like an iconic image, this idea of this little skirt with the bow in the front and the white shirt. So if she's a Sailor Scout and she's in middle school, then of course her uniform is just a smaller, sexier version of her school uniform.
So
She's 13 Toonsters, by the way, so
when she gets older, does her clothes match her elderly self?
she just has a business suit.
Like a business suit type of?
Well, the show, in the present day, there are aspects of the show where there's time travel, which we did not go into, but they'd go into when we spoke the other night. They go into the future, they talk about the past, but when we're in present day, her uniform is always the same. Oh. Yeah.
Which, mind you, this show was on was it 92 where this show first started?
Yes, I believe that's correct.
Yes, it did.
was
In
like
Japan, where all anime start.
Oh, that's what I wanted to ask you. So there has been a lot of different versions of Sailor Moon to the point where when I was trying to do research on it, I was tossed across between the American version, the Japanese version, the subbed version, but not the dubbed version, the dubbed version, but the American dubbed version, which is different from the blah, blah, blah.
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about all these differences?
Yeah, so, I mean, I want to contextualize my viewing experience.
That's sort of what this show's about.
For people that are maybe huge Sailor Moon fanatics. So I watched and grew up the American dubbed version, which was produced by Deke. And Deke.
That was our best one. Yeah. We got to put that in the vault.
You got to record that.
Save that because we do a lot of Deke shows, and we always do the Deke.
And
there used to be a Deke office over here. Did you know that?
What?
In Toluca Lake. Yeah.
You just gave away our location. We got to go.
In Minnesota. Does that cover it?
Yeah, Toluca Lake, Minnesota.
Minnesota.
Hey, thanks for the save.
Mount Rushmore.
Sorry, we blew it up, but you used to watch the American dub version.
I was watching the American dub version. So that's why when I reference the characters, I'm using the names that were from the American version. But Serena is Sailor Moon's name in the Japanese version, and then in later versions that were dubbed, she's named her Japanese name, which is Usagi.
Oh.
But that's just so people know kind of where I'm coming from. As far as the different versions, it's not confusing. Let's talk about it.
Okay, let's.
So we start with this wonderful woman named Naoko Takeuchi.
Ooh.
Trying to get that.
Toonsters, could you imagine
Better.
if Chad and I tried to say that?
The author of the series, she wrote this series of books, okay? Mm-hmm. And so they became so popular. Books, I'm using book as opposed to saying manga. I'm interchangeable in my mind.
Of course.
Okay, so she wrote these books. These books became so popular, they produced a anime series in Japan. The series then gets bought by DeEK, and DeEK then decides to bring it to the United States, and they dub it in English. Then, each of the series itself has 4, I believe, story arcs.
I believe that's true. I did.
Sailor Moon, Sailor Moon R, Sailor Moon S, Sailor Moon Stars.
Well, you missed Super S.
And Super S.
Yeah.
And in the in the anime version, there's actually a story arc that's not in the written version because she wasn't able to write fast enough.
Really?
So they produced a almost like a little mini season that isn't in the manga at all.
Oh.
Okay, so all that set aside, there's all these different seasons. So maybe you were getting confused in that sense.
Maybe.
Okay, so there's like 5 seasons. The American producers only produced like half of those in dubbing and then later subtitled.
Really?
Yeah. So that's why you'll see various versions of that. Now, cut to 2013, I think is when it started. They decided to reboot the whole thing.
Really?
So
You're
they
talking
just
about Crystal.
Sailor Moon Crystal's the reboot. So it's new. You can see the animation's entirely different. It's much more close to what's this book.
But very true to the original as well.
Well, true to the original in the sense that, like, that's what is in the book.
Right.
Like, the original anime is just following the story of the book. Now, the new anime is more true to the drawing style of the author. And as we saw, we watched that one episode.
It was beautiful.
Yeah.
And you can see the digital quality versus the paper drawing quality. I mean, they're good in different senses, but it's just, I think it really lends itself to that beautiful artwork.
And also, I'd like to say that Sailor Moon was sort of it opened the door for anime in the United States.
Yeah.
A lot of people didn't really understand or appreciate anime until Sailor Moon made it something common ground for American cartoon.
I think that people became used to seeing that animation. It looks so different. It really does. And so people are like, oh, I can watch something like this. And that opened the door for Dragon Ball Z and various other animes that have now really crossed over.
So I guess, if anything, people that don't really know much about anime have a stigma about it. This is a question for both
stigma?
of you. Well, I mean, just that it might be just weird. I don't know what the stigma is per se because I don't see it so much.
Well, I think it is a lot of people fusing hentai with anime,
like
which
tentacle
it is not.
porn and stuff like that.
And it's completely nowhere near that kind of theme or tone. But it's still these anime that are brought to America still have these dark tones that I would think the kids in Japan are much more mature than kids from America.
Oh, yeah.
Because of the animation that they get is very very mature themes about parents dying or growing up, like Sailor Moon, growing from a middle-aged schoolgirl to an adult, young adult woman.
Yeah, well, I remember my stigma sort of when I first saw anime was on at late night like Cartoon Network or something.
Yeah. Was it Adult Swim, late night Adult Swim?
It might have even been before Adult Swim was there.
Anime?
Or something. Maybe it was like Cartoon.
Toonami? You're thinking
Maybe
of?
Toonami.
Yeah. There was a Toonami late night on Saturdays or Fridays.
I remember watching that, and now I can't think of the anime, but that had the bunny cat hybrid animal. Do you know what I'm talking about? There's another amazing anime. Okay, so first of all, I don't think you know this about me. I love cats. And so there was a creature in this other animated series that it was like a cat and a bunny had mated and created this super cute animal that had superpowers. Because of course it did.
Of course it does. Yeah.
Of coururse.
Everything in anime has some sort of superpower.
But I digress.
it did have stronger. You just wanted to tell everyone you like cats again.
Just want to let everyone know. I love cats.
The storylines are a lot richer. They don't really have the sort of phoning it in, like what's the like, they don't dumb down their arcs. They have a much grander story arc. You have animes that lasted 800 episodes opposed to an American show with like 200 on a good like a good run. So like there's like One Ship. Is that One Piece?
Oh yes,
One Piece is about 700 episodes in right now. It's like a soap opera numbers.
Well, some shows get a certain following where they, you know what, why not continue the story? I mean, some aren't great at it and the stories kind of fall flat, but some can keep it up. So, like One Piece, 700 episodes in, there's millions of characters they've met already, and yet they're still going strong. Sailor Moon, although it ended, well, I mean, they're with a new series now, but now...
but the story's over. I mean, the new...
It is?
Yeah, like the new series is simply a retelling.
Oh, I see.
The author wrote the books, and the books are essentially concluded. So they're just redoing it to be more, I guess, true to the original books. Because when the original anime came out, the production team took some of their own liberties as far as storytelling. Which
the mangas were a bit darker, too.
The mangas were darker, more adult. And... I mean, when it was brought, this is something I thought is just super fascinating. When it was brought to the United States, episodes were cut out, things were censored, relationships were defined differently.
That's what I was going to say about the differences, too, that we were talking about a few minutes ago. Could you give us some examples of those? Like, besides just the actual, like, subbing and dubbing, there was a lot in the story, the scripts, and how they interpreted characters' relationships.
Yeah, I mean, I think that... imagine, it's like the early 90s, and people were scared of showing things that might be deemed as inappropriate to kids. Well, okay.
I think you were even mentioning with two of the characters they brought in later...
Right.
In, like, not Super S, but, like, R or S. I think with Uranus and Neptune, they had a certain relationship that was kind of changed for our demographic.
Well, even in the episodes that you and I watched the other night, the character of Jedi, which is one of the villains, is a woman in the American series, but it's actually a man.
Oh.
But the reason why they changed the gender of the character and then had a female voice actor was because that character has a relationship with another man in the villain household, you know.
Oh.
And so people are like, oh, well, we can't have a gay relationship and have kids watch it. Mm-hmm. By that same token, Sailor Uranus and Sailor Neptune are lesbian lovers in the original story. But the American producers changed it so that they're cousins, but there's it's like getting shoehorned into this story, and you can kind of tell something's off when you watch the dubbed version. Like, it doesn't make sense sometimes when they're trying to translate what they're saying and what's going on.
Right. They didn't cut enough of it to make that make sense.
Yeah. And then there's just little things like a lot of violence was cut out of the show because it did get pretty dark.
Well, at the end of the first season, when they go to battle Queen
And that's actually
Beryl,
2 episodes in the original series, and it's got truncated down to 1 for the American
I was wondering
audience.
why everything felt so rushed.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Because a lot of the violence was taken out, and even what they left in, I'm noticing how violent it is. Just as I rewatch it, I'm like, man, there's things jutting out of the chest cavity of this guy. That's painful right there.
You get these characters that we've now been with for an entire season are getting crushed.
And they're dying.
Yeah,
and then they're instantly gone. And then you get this quick little see you later, bye. And you're like, wait a minute. You were just devoured by a mountain, crushed. And then we see a faint version of you in your school clothes going see you later. It's because if Rachel didn't tell us that they died in the battle, I would not have seen that as death.
I mean,
which I guess
that's
is sort of the
what
point.
they wanted. Yeah, they didn't want kids to be like, "Oh, my favorite characters have just died,"
which sort of takes away of the weight of how serious that battle was.
That's true. And then other things like just difference in culture, like Sailor Moon is in a bathtub, and so the American producers covered up her body more. There wasn't any nudity. It's not like her boobs were showing, but she just had a little bit of cleavage that was drawn in, so they took all that away. So things like that. I mean, I get it. It was that's like 20, 25 years ago now.
It's true.
Sailor Moon.
Now it's acceptable.
Yeah,
sure.
right.
Now it's acceptable for cleavage on 13-year-olds in an animated series.
Sailor Moon was one of the first animes we said that was brought over and accepted. But did you guys know that at the cusp of this happening, the internet was just starting to form as we know it is today? And at one point, Sailor Moon had more websites than Mickey Mouse, and there was more fandom for Sailor Moon.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it felt like it was... I feel like stuff like that, where you're sort of the minority, more people are passionate about, because it's not just the well-accepted, everyone loves Mickey Mouse, everyone loves blah, blah, blah. It feels like it's yours. And when you find other like-minded individuals like that, there's a lot more to bond about, because if I find somebody that likes Mickey Mouse, cool, but everyone sort of does, and it's very, I feel like there's a passion that comes with Sailor Moon fans. And you growing up, did you have anyone you could connect to, or did you have any friends?
Oh my gosh.
Really?
Well, what's so funny is just when you touch on the internet thing, I remember going home from school and just sitting there and searching for Sailor Moon images. And then I would save the file and create folders, and I would have thousands, because it wasn't just stills from the anime. It's pictures from the author herself that she had drawn.
Oh.
From the books, from promotional photos. It was just there. And you guys should definitely look it up. Look up Sailor Moon images, and you will be amazed at how many different images that are actually from the brand, not fan images. Okay, so I go home, right? I'm a kid, young Ray, getting home from school.
Oh, Ray, you cray.
On the internet, and just looking at these, reading articles, watching videos, saving images, and then I became super obsessed with the show with a group of 4 other girls. And
Shut up.
We would reenact scenes. We would dress up as the characters. Awesome. I remember having a different color nail polish for each Sailor Scout, and have each one.
Did you apply it like she did?
Each one of my fingers, and then I would do that although this is a Power Rangers anecdote, but I was pretty good in school, so I would zone out when I was at class. And one time, I would play around with pretending I was transforming into Sailor Moon or whatever. And one time I pretended to transform into the Pink Ranger, but that's when I got yelled at by the teacher, and then I got made fun of. And this is why I didn't have very many friends, I think.
But
really.
You were 4, and that's enough to get a Sailor Moon party going.
Exactly.
But now you can revisit that, do those things again, and it's accepted, which is a great thing.
That's true.
We're going to have to get some pictures of you doing those poses. Yeah, the Sailor Moon poses.
I mean, I am an actor, so I've already practiced them.
Now, when you and your 4 friends reenacted some episodes or scenes, or maybe made up your own stories, who did you play of the Sailor Scouts?
I loved Sailor Venus. I always played Sailor Venus. She was a very positive person, and she was so cool, Sailor Moon is also someone I really, really liked, but she's like a crybaby. She's this reluctant heroine. She's teased a lot by the other girls. Mina, who was Sailor Venus, was so cool and had everything together, and she was fashionable and pretty, and all the guys liked her, and I was like, oh, if only, one day. Yeah, so I would play her, and then Sailor Moon if my friend wanted to be her.
What are the differences between the characters? as you said, there's Sailor Moon, Venus,
Sailor
Mars,
Venus,
Mercury.
Sailor Mercury, Sailor Mars,
Saying it, go.
Sailor Jupiter. That's a little
No, keep going.
little nugget.
What were their differences? Because one was like a hothead. One was the popular one.
They're from different planets.
Oh, aren't we all?
That's
so Sailor Moon, you know, she's the princess. She's but really her defining characteristics are this idea that she will do anything for her friends. Like, no matter how terrible the road ahead, she will face it if her friends need her. Which is why she's the heroine of the story. She will never turn her back.
I was going to ask, because you said she was sort of the crybaby, meekish one, but yet here she is as the main antagonist.
Because that's
protagonist.
That's what makes her go, like, propel forward, is this idea that she has to be there for her friends. She has to help them, even if that means she has to sacrifice herself.
the call of the hero.
That's right.
But she's a reluctant hero. I think it's obvious that she's not intending to be the princess or the guardian of the universe or whatever. She just wanted to have a normal life and then kind of got thrust into this life.
Which is much more fascinating to watch from, a viewer's perspective, because Sailor Venus was the popular one. When we first are introduced to her in the cartoon, she already has notoriety. She has a video game coming out about her. People already love her. So to see her be, I call it like the Superman way of things, when everything's just perfect for you already. So it's like, well, where's the arc? Like, you're not as interesting to follow the full time. But Sailor Moon sort of has to come into it, and that is way more fascinating to watch, especially because she's the youngest one.
Right.
So she's also has to grow up a lot faster.
Well, I think in that sense, that's how a lot of the comedy is brought to you, because she's just very eccentric. Even while fighting, she calls them silly names, or you shouldn't be so mean, or
you just reminded me what I wanted to talk about.
Yeah.
Sailor Moon is nothing like I thought it was. Here's the thing. So once again,
what did you think that
Dan being a boy,
I thought it was tentacle porn.
Yeah.
Anyway,
he was
I'm just
that
kidding.
guy.
No, I thought it was going to be a lot more action, very straightforward. I didn't know it was going to be
similar to what? Let's say
similar to
Power Rangers.
Maybe Power Rangers. Yeah, because Power Rangers wasn't that funny per se. It was sometimes it tried. But it did have a very similar formula in some cases. But I thought it was going to be very action, now let's get them, girls, foo, foo, I didn't know it was going to be so quirky, so funny, and so I didn't know I would be so invested in the characters when they weren't their Sailor Scout personas.
The majority of the show is them not. Fighting is a big part of the show. But a lot of stuff happens just because these are teenage girls and them trying to navigate through life. Oh, and they're superheroes?
Something we wouldn't know about, Dan.
Would you, Chad?
Being teenage girls.
Oh. Yeah, let's not tell about that stuff.
No.
Anyway, we want to know what... I'm trying to segue into this because I wanted to...
Segue.
Okay, segue.
Here,
Go
segue.
into it, Dan. There you go.
What's your favorite episode?
Well, I really like episode 31, and I don't know the name of it, which I should have looked up.
Feel like anyone's still listening.
It's 30-31. It's a duel. It's a dueler. 2 episodes. This is the American numbers, so there were some episodes cut out before they aired in the United States. So I think in the Japanese numbers, it's probably a little higher than that, 30, 34.
So around there somewhere.
It's in the early to mid 30s. Anyway, it's the episode where Darian and Serena realize who they really are. That she realizes he's Tuxedo Mask, and he realizes she's Sailor Moon, and then we find out that she's the Moon Princess and that they're destined to be together. And it's like this love. The love that they have is an overarching story in all of the seasons. This idea that no matter what happens, even if they fight, even if he's in another country, whatever, they will always end up together because they are destined for each other. It's destiny. They are each other's density. Oh. Yeah, so in that episode, everyone starts to remember what happened, back in the past before they were brought into the future of like present day Tokyo.
So you said that she discovered that she was the Moon Princess. How does that change her? Because as we were saying, she was the meekish sort of crybaby girl. And when she discovers now that on top of being the Sailor Scout for the moon, she's also the Moon Princess, how does that change her character?
It is odd that they didn't realize that she was the Moon Princess because the Moon Princess has the same hairstyle.
Yep. The two meatballs on the top.
That's just a different conversation. I'm sorry, what was the question? How does she feel about that?
How does she react to finding out this news?
She's overwhelmed. I mean, that's a huge... The whole season 1 up until that point has been, we got to find the Moon Princess, we got to find her and we got to protect her, that was like what her... And so it's essentially an identity crisis. Because now the thing that she's been seeking to try to help and find and protect is actually herself, and all of a sudden all these burdens of like having to protect everybody and lead everybody, because when you're the Moon Princess, you're essentially the ruler of everyone, the universe, of peace, love, and justice. Like, she has to, navigate between that. Yesterday I was a 13-year-old girl. Today I'm the Moon Princess?
Chad, you can relate.
Oh, yeah, sometimes
like Chad every
I get
Sunday.
Surprised by a lot of things. But, I mean, I do want to bring up sort of sidetracking from that.
Segue.
We're not good at it on this
we're not
show.
good at segue.
I just need to yell segue.
The mini Sailor Moon from the future, like, could you explain how... Because I skipped ahead and I ran into her character, and I was curious how she just comes about like that.
So that character, we're referring to Sailor Chibi Moon.
Chippy Moon?
Chibi, like Chibi.
Oh.
She's from the future. She uses this little thing called a Luna Ball, which Sailor Pluto... yes, Sailor Pluto, I believe. She's like the timekeeper. And she's able to go back and forth through time. Anyway, so Sailor Chibi Moon goes back in time to meet up with Serena and Darian because she's trying to help her mom, who's in the future. And who is her mom?
Sailor Moon.
Serena and Darian.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey.
I got it right.
So
Good job,
right.
Dan.
Yeah. Well, it makes sense because they have very similar hairstyles.
Which is all you really need to
That just shows...
paste that together. Sorry.
At least they're not bald in the future.
They're not.
On the moon.
See?
They're not.
This is what I say about Chad.
You always know how to put a positive spin on things.
So as far as like the villains they are up against, we meet Queen Beryl. Were there many more that sort of matched her, or is like who was the greatest sort of challenge for Sailor Moon, or who was your favorite one?
I have an affinity towards the Queen Beryl story arc because it's the one that really made me discover like this show and these characters and these people, because it's the beginning, So she's very close to my heart. But there's this interesting storyline later that I can't remember the guy's name, but he becomes obsessed with Sailor Moon. Like, he falls in love with her, and he starts making inappropriate advances to her, and then he kidnaps her.
Zirconian or something?
Perhaps.
Maybe.
Perhaps.
Maybe. Or Prince Diamond, maybe.
Oh, no, it's Prince Diamond.
It's Prince Diamond?
That's right, yeah. and he kidnaps her, and he's like, well, you're gonna be my wife now. Oh. And like,
once again, that's how it works.
That's just how it works. And that storyline was so fascinating to me. This guy obsessing over this girl who, she's destined to be with Darien, obviously. So he shouldn't even be trying. But it's an interesting storyline. They deal a lot with these like big overarching themes of like love and what happens, and jealousy, hatred, resentment. These like really serious human emotions, and it gets discussed in an anime. It's really fascinating to me.
I was just remembering that Prince Diamond, he's from the Black Moon clan, I think, or it's like the 10th planet in our universe that we haven't discovered yet. It's behind Pluto.
We'll find it. Those Japanese astronomers and scientists will find it for us. But they have a different program than we do. Yeah.
But from what I like looked into further into that, and I saw that they're like opposites of, because the moons are upside down on their foreheads, and they're like complete opposites of their characters. But I mean, if Prince Diamond was looking for a homebody, I wasn't one of the sailors. She was very into like domestic stuff. I think it was Jupiter.
Sailor Jupiter. Yeah, she would
have made a perfect wife.
She's a great cook.
Yeah,
that's one of her characteristics. And I know that like she would bring this massive lunch to school, and Sailor Moon, who is always hungry, would look at it and be like, "Can I have a little bit of lunch?" And then Lita, who's Sailor Jupiter, would say, "Okay, I'll share it with you." And then it just like cuts to Sailor Moon with these huge chipmunk cheeks, and so she's like, "Rah, rah, 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 rah," and she's eating all of it because that's what Sailor Moon does.
I always find it adorable when the little skinny twig things just eat like that.
And there are actually live action small girls who actually film themselves eating like that.
Oh.
I thought you were going to say there was live action Sailor Moon.
There is live action Sailor Moon.
Well,
I thought you were going to segue into an appropriate thing.
Well, no, I'm not. This is not sexual. People, watch.
No, I guarantee it's sexual.
People watch
maybe
these,
not
like,
to you.
These small girls just eat like a table full of food.
A table?
Yeah, like not a table, but a table like covered in different trays of food, and she just
Chad, I'm almost positive that's supposed to be taken as sexual.
No, I don't see how it would be. I don't.
Well, that's good. I'm really glad you said that.
Thankfully, you're not telling us a lot about yourself right now.
No.
Oh man,
I just surf the web a lot, and I come across things.
Yeah, that is true, Toonsters. If you Google Sailor Moon, it will get dark pretty fast. It was very hard to research this show.
You got to keep your filter on
yeah,
Google.
Keep your filter on.
Keep it on safe.
Because you will not get like 6 things in.
I mean, these characters are so interesting and fascinating, so of course people will fantasize about them. I don't think that's... I mean, it happens for any other character in any other
Okay, just say what you want to say. You and Tuxedo Mask.
If Tuxedo Mask was a real person, I would be dating him right now.
And if he wasn't?
I would be dating him right now.
Yep, see?
Would he actually have that psychic ability that he's linked with Sailor Moon?
Oh, yeah, because then he knows exactly what I'm
danger?
thinking.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Okay. Check, please. I'm trying to say, from a fan's perspective, what would you recommend to fans out there, like who are just sort of experiencing this for the first time in 2015, through all the series, through all the... Like, where should they start? What should they look for? Who should they talk to? A priest?
Okay, so...
And what's the meaning of life?
I think the meaning of life is listening to the Raised by Toons podcast.
Yeah, that's a plug.
Now we can just stop.
And perhaps watching the Cosplay Cuisine web series, which I haven't yet mentioned.
What's the Cosplay Cuisine?
What is that?
Well, Toonsters... My name's Rachel Amanda Bryant. I'm an actor, and I have a web series called Cosplay Cuisine where I dress up in cosplay and I cook these nerdy-themed foods, and you get to watch me do it. So I mean, that's fun.
I'm sorry. Give us an example of one of those.
That's fun.
Like, what do you mean you dress up and cook nerdy foods?
The most recent episode, which is now online, Cosplay Cuisine is our YouTube channel.
That's a plug.
I'm dressed up as Star-Lord, and I bake a Groot cake.
Oh.
So that's Guardians of the Galaxy right there.
What other ones do you have down the pipeline?
Well, there's this upcoming episode. Well, okay, I'm gonna say 2. There's Back to the Future coming up next because we're in that year. It's been
2015,
it's
October
2000
23rd, right? Is the day?
21st, I believe.
21st?
Is the day. Yeah, so we're doing Back to the Future. And then on November 2nd, Toonsters, write this down.
Toonsters.
It's a Raised by Toons cosplay cuisine crossover episode, and we're doing Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle cosplay, and we're cooking a pizza.
Mind blown.
But you better set your iPhone alarms.
Your little Scooby-Doo alarm clock where you have to slap his belly.
You slap his belly.
You didn't have one of those?
No.
I used to have a Stimpy alarm clock too, where you pressed him down and he made it like a nauseous face.
I was a normal kid and had my mom come in and wake me up.
My mom would wake me up too.
Yeah,
she'd come in singing Boomer Sooner, the Oklahoma fight song.
Okay.
Okay.
And years later, I said, Mom, you remember doing that? She goes, I never did that. And then everyone else in the car, my dad and my brother were like, yes, you did. She's like,
I would have loved if no one remembered.
Yeah.
And that image was just implanted somehow in your head.
Oh my God.
I cannot disassociate that song from my mother now.
Toonsters, November 2nd, Raised by Toons, cosplay cuisine, crossover.
So we're going to tweet about it. I have a Twitter handle, Cosplay Cuisine. It's the
And
Twitter handle.
I was going to say,
that's
And my personal Twitter handle, because I am an actor. And I do
like Sailor
acting.
B.
Like Sailor
Hey,
B.
tie-in.
Rachel A. Bryant, at Rachel A. Bryant. Follow me, and I'll follow you back.
And she does sort of look like Sailor Venus too.
Aww.
So everyone's like, okay, that's the quickest way to make
Yeah,
sure people
that'll-
Google your thing. That is the quickest way, because anybody still listening is gonna be like, oh, okay, let me just. So Toonsters, listen up, watch her on Cosplay Cuisine.
And
This was starting with the question of how to start
Oh,
watching
yes.
Sailor Moon.
Oh yeah,
And
fine.
I do
if you want to get back into that,
I just want to
crap.
say that real quick, and then we can move on.
And we can
But-
talk about me more.
No. I mean, we can talk about whatever you want to talk about. Because I
You?
have a question for you.
ooh.
Okay.
But okay, here's what I have to say. If you're new to the Sailor Moon universe, it was tough for me to watch episodes that are subtitled. I prefer watching dubbed episodes. But the reboot is so beautifully animated and it's subtitled. I would say watch a couple episodes of that. If you can't get into it, they have a new dubbing of the old animation, the one that I grew up on, that you can also find on Hulu. So if you can't get into the subtitle thing, watch the dubbed thing of the new, and it will be true to the original story.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
So you said Hulu?
Hulu. I don't. You may have
also-
heard of it.
I've
Hulu.
heard of it. I've heard of it.
HOOLOO.
That is somewhat inaccurate.
Yeah.
But there's also WatchSailorMoon.com, right?
Oh yeah, for the original, the series that I watched growing up, the one that is dubbed, the American dubbed.
The real quirky, hilarious, and awesome original.
It is a lot of
Deke.
fun to watch. Now, question, do you want to ask your question first, or would you like to give your review scoring of Sailor Moon first?
Let me ask my question first.
Okay.
Here's my question. And Chad, maybe this is for you too. 'Cause
Boxers,
did you
both
say
of
that
us.
you had never watched Sailor Moon before the other night?
No, I watched a little bit
Okay.
when I was tuning in for Dragon Ball Z or
Right,
Dragon
right.
Ball at the time.
So we'll start with Dan.
Okay.
And then we'll move to Chad.
All
Okay,
right.
so we'll start with Dan. So Dan, now that we watched 5 episodes total, most of them from the original American anime.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think of the show? Like, as now, from your current perspective?
So I decided, because I went into this, Chad has been begging me to do anime.
Yeah.
Do an anime episode for a long time, and I'm not against anime.
He just
I
doesn't
just have a
understand it.
small library to use as like reference. Basically, I've only watched like Dragon Ball and Death Note, maybe, and Attack on Titan or something.
You didn't watch Pokemon?
Oh, of course, yeah, I watched Pokemon. Yeah. See, that's true. That's another one, but.
Yeah.
I didn't have a lot to go by. And what I remember of Sailor Moon was it being on late at night and the images somewhat startling me as a child. because it was different. The animation is very realistic, in more realistic
way.
than Tom and Jerry, and you know what I mean. So like the animation's different, and you have to do it just. So I already had like my own luggage. So watching it again, I decided to drop all of that and take it as a fresh slate, and it was stunning to watch. The visuals were very vibrant; they attracted the eye. Every character had their own unique style and color, and their own unique characteristics. The story arc for the guys listening in that think maybe this is a chick show, it is far from. It is the same. It is very similar to a Power Rangers sort of formula. And
the girls are beautiful.
And the girls are beautiful, so don't be weirdo.
Guys like beautiful girls? I mean,
I feel like there's a lot of this show that is very much aimed towards men. Like there's
hey, girls in short skirts, come on.
Yeah, it is not a chick show.
But it's also like women can appreciate
That's
strong these girls are, that they own themselves, they own...
Very ambitious to their goals. Like, I believe it was Mercury who wants to be a doctor, right?
Mm-hmm. She's a genius.
A genius.
Literally
a genius. Yeah, yeah. So rid yourself of all your preconceived notions of this show. I'd say do what Rachel said and start with that beautiful... I think Crystal was gorgeous to watch, but it did help that I watched the American dubbed first, so I didn't have to focus too much on the subtitles at first. So I would say having a general understanding through the American dub first helps, so I could really appreciate the artwork of Crystal.
Or you could read the manga first, I guess.
But that's backwards.
Reading.
Like
reading. We want to teach our viewers to read, but also to raise yourself on cartoons.
Yeah. Oh. But seriously, this show is worth it. This show is
so cool. I was curious what you thought, coming from a true outsider perspective after watching it the other night.
I didn't expect it to be as great as it was, to be honest.
Your wife, I think, was also kind of surprised at how interesting and how dramatic and how epic and how...
That excited me. Okay, so it was probably the same way you were sort of watching us through a lens of like, ooh, like it's the same way when you show something you're really passionate about to someone foreign to it, you watch them more than you watch the thing.
That's true.
So me being foreign to it and watching my wife experience it for the first time, who has no anime in her blood at all.
So she's never...
Pokemon is weird to her.
Okay.
So watching her get so excited about some of these storylines, and you can see it literally within like the few hours we were watching these arcs, she was sucked into this romance story between Darian.
Questions for Rachel.
That's the thing.
We were
she had a million questions that she was just firing off, and it was so exciting to see that a cartoon from 20 years ago is still doing that to somebody who is no age given, but like to not a child, to anybody, and that is the true standing of a good show.
Very much so.
Let's rotate a very similar question to Chadwick.
Okay.
What are you wearing, Chad?
That's my name.
Well, I mean, you're Chad here at the Toons.
I'm whatever I need to be.
By the way, Chad is wearing a replica of the Sailor Moon outfit, and you look stunning.
Thank you.
He does. The skirt length is the right skirt length for you.
Trust me, we can see. Close your legs. You're a
Baby
lady.
powder everywhere.
You are a lady now. Sorry,
but
Rachel,
please,
your question.
Your question.
Okay. So you'd watched a few snippets of the show back in the day when you were trying to catch, Dragon Ball Z or what ifs. Now that you've watched it in your current self, what do you think? What do you think of the show?
Well, I mean, obviously there were a lot of things I missed when I originally watched it because I didn't know, I was not in tune to what the arcs were, or I was kind of just watching it for watching it. But it came out that this was actually interesting to me. I was like, oh, there's cool monsters, cool, character development. It was one of the things that led me to like Dragon Ball Z. It's like, oh, this whole hour-long set of anime, and I was like, what is... I got interested in anime through it, and obviously the girls were very attractive. You know, I mean, I'm a young boy growing up, and they're very interesting. I was like, let's let's explore. But
that was the last thing you should have said.
Yeah,
let's explore.
Let's explore. But no, like I found a lot of the stuff very interesting. The whole tuxedo mask. I didn't want to be him because I think it would be very hot in that suit all the time. But throwing
maybe it's
roses,
an air-conditioned suit.
Yeah,
that's true. He did have magical powers, so who knows?
and that cave wafts, so
yeah,
probably breathes.
But I mean, a lot of what Dan said spoke to me, where it was a new type of animation. It was more of the tones of actual real life situations that characters could go through. That was very appealing, and I wanted to see more, but it didn't catch me at that time because I was more like, I want action, I want, Kamehamehas and stuff.
It was a fast-paced show, though.
No, it was, and I do enjoy the comedic, tone that it was able to deliver with all the facial expressions and then the dynamics between different characters. But yeah, I mean, I thought it was great.
I mean, you liked it
great.
enough to watch a couple episodes on your own yesterday.
Yeah.
Yes. I spent most of my life, not my life.
That's sort of why we have this show,
Yeah.
too, is because
my
that's what we
nights
do.
by myself just watching, some episodes to get back in tune.
And I think you
with young
enjoyed
Chad.
it, right?
I did, yeah.
I'm just trying to spread the love.
it
She's the
worked.
warrior
I gotta
of
admit,
love
I
and
went
justice.
to bed last night with the theme song stuck in my head. I was like, because it's catchy.
By moonlight. It
was
really
very
is.
catchy.
And I had
It's
the
catchy as
CD,
hell.
you guys. All you Toonsters out there, this is showing who I was as a child. I had the CD that was released by some person. I'm not sure. But it's the music from the American show. So it's all these songs that are in English that have this kind of like late 80s, like electronica vibe to it. It's so
very like Gem.
fun.
It was sort of like Gem sounding. Chad, knowing what you know now, what would you rate Sailor Moon?
Well, I would have to, rating it as I am now, I would have to rate the show Sailor Moon 3.5 silver, what's it called? Silver
crystals.
Silver crystals.
Ooh, we're doing silver
Imperium
crystals,
crystals.
are we?
Silver
Imperium
crystals.
crystals. Yes, silver Imperium.
I was like, what are you referring to?
Imperium crystals. Silver Imperium crystals. 3.5
Out of
5.
Oh, okay. I thought you were going to say out of 10.
Oh, no.
We have a 5 scale
10,
here.
we're not that...
We couldn't do the math there.
Yeah, it's just... But, yeah, that was my
All
rating.
right.
You, Dan?
I think immersing myself in the culture sort of is what's going to bump mine up right now to a 4 out of 5.
Ooh.
4 out of 5 Luna and Artemises, which are the cat
cats.
guardians.
The cat
But honestly, when I watched the show and I was quickly swept up and I really enjoyed it. But what really got me was finding out that the subculture that sort of brought anime to where it is today was fascinating. And I always love that sort of underdog stuff. Rachel, what are you going to rate Sailor Moon? 1, 2.
Well, yeah, I would say that this show... Yes, sir.
If you wanted to, you can rate it as your younger self and your self now if there's a difference.
Excellent suggestion. Might be the same, but
No.
No?
No.
Oh, okay.
I am going to say 5. I'm going to throw out a 5. And let me tell you why.
All right.
Well, first of all, I need to use my designation thing. So it's 5 tuxedo mask roses.
we knew it would be.
Hello, nurse.
I would love if our Sailor Moon correspondent gave it a 2 out of 5 or something.
That would be so sad.
Yeah.
And let me tell you why. Okay, so as a kid, I'm growing up and I'm learning like, hey, I could be a superhero, and I just need to have like love and love for the world, and like have a good group of friends, and like I can achieve amazing things. Like those are the themes that really stuck with me as a kid. Now I look at it And I am amazed at the way that the story addressed gender identity and sexual identity with exploring, these not normal relationships, having lesbian and gay relationships, having characters that aren't men, or that are women, that are strong, powerful women that kind of almost buck these stereotypes of like what like a female character would be. I think that those themes are really interesting, and oddly enough, we're still dealing with some of those things today, and it's been so many years later. So I think that there are things that are really beautiful about that story.
Is there anything you want to give to the guys before we wrap it up?
To the guys?
Yeah.
To Tuxedo Mask? Call me.
Well, how about this? What cereal would you eat while watching Sailor Moon?
Well, I don't eat much cereal anymore because I live a sad, sad life. But
pretend you were happy.
If I was happy and there was a cat-shaped cereal. No, probably doesn't Lucky Charms have that moon shape marshmallow?
Yes.
That would probably make the most sense, but we know what I would do. Here's what I would do. I would hire an assistant. And then the assistant would go through 800 boxes of Lucky Charms and pull out all the crescent moon marshmallows. Okay. Mm-hmm. So then the assistant would put that in a bowl with a couple of the non-marshmallow cereal bits.
Oh, you're going, okay.
Okay.
And I would then create my own cereal that's based off, it's like a descendant of Lucky Charms, but really
Sailor Moon Mallows.
It's Crescent Moon Mallows.
Mallows.
Yeah.
I like
all
that.
Right. Chad, you?
Well, that was kind of mine, Lucky Charms.
That was mine.
But,
D-Night.
I guess we can all do the same cereal.
We'll all do the same, except I'm not putting those grains back in.
Yeah, I don't want...
I don't know why you would ever put those back in. If you took them out, just eat the marshmallows. Grow up.
Yeah.
So, everyone, do you want to pitch that one more time for Cosplay Cuisine?
Yeah. So you guys, first of all, thank you for having me here. I'm so glad I was able to talk about Sailor Moon with you guys and get the Toonsters out there to rewatch it.
Genuinely could not have done this episode without you.
It would have been a trap.
So my name is Rachel Amanda Bryant. I have a web show called Cosplay Cuisine. Google it if you want.
Hilarious,
We're on YouTube.
by the way.
Hilarious.
I'm in cosplay and I'm baking stuff. And
all you need.
gotta
she looks
watch.
like Sailor Venus.
You can find me on Twitter, Rachel A. Bryant, Instagram, Actress Rachie, Facebook, Rachel Amanda Bryant. And then also look forward to, write down in those calendars, make a note on your mirror in lipstick. Put a sticky note on the front door so that you're reminding yourself every single day to tune in on November 2nd to the Cosplay Cuisine Raised by Toons crossover episode where Chad and Dan, who you may not know what these guys look like, but they're a delight. And they're in cosplay with me. I'm dressed as April O'Neil. Dan is Raphael. And Chad is Casey Jones. And the three of us... we bumble our way through a pizza recipe.
It's pretty great. I think that's going to wrap it up for us today at Raised by Toons. So remember, if you weren't raised by Toons,
you weren't raised right.
Thanks for listening to the Raised by Toons podcast. Be sure to visit their website at www.raisedbytoonspodcast.com. If you haven't already, subscribe to their podcast on iTunes, and don't forget to follow them on Twitter and Facebook. Tune in next week to listen to two grown men who